Alright. Well, hello my little beauties and welcome to this live stream with me, David Connolly, the web developer extraordinaire. And this is going to be a little live coding thing. This is not a tutorial, far from it. In fact, you're going to see me make all sorts of bungling errors along the way here. But I enjoy coding live because somehow it helps me to think clearly, especially if I'm talking about what I'm thinking and stuff like that. So anyway, doesn't really matter. But in this one, we are going to be working on a pop-up calendar. I'm going to be rebuilding the pop-up calendar for the Trongate framework, actually. Now, I think we're just about working here. I have a few tunes, and with your permission, I'm going to get going straight away. Computer, set alarm for 2 hours. Good. Super quick wristwatch check. I know that we like that around here. And I'm just wearing my Citizen here with the custom band, which is recently I've been wearing it quite a lot. This could be the watch that I finally settle on. It's solar powered. It's not an expensive watch at all, but it's just a beauty. I love the clarity of the face. It has the date on it. It's just, isn't that a beaut? And I think originally it had a green canvas strap, but I think switching it to this one has brought a whole new vibe, you know? And for anyone who's wondering why I'm talking about watches, well, we do like watches here on this channel as well, and we like to talk about them from time to time. Okay, and my hair is... Okay. Nah, it's not going to work. Let's just give up on that. Alright, let's just code, shall we? So, we're redoing the pop-up calendar, and there's a few things that I'm going to be doing with it, and I will not finish it during this live stream. I predict it's going to take me 28 days to get this finished. It's a lot of work to be done. But one of the things that I can do now, or that I'm planning on adding, is a thing that lets you declare a default date format, and you'll also be able to declare default locale strings, and I'll give you an example of what that means. So if I go to JavaScript locale string, it turns out that you can choose a language from all of this list here. So let's say, for example, pick something a wee bit off the beaten track. Let's go with Thailand, right? So we're building a website for somebody in Thailand, or that type of customer base. If I change this locale string and then go back to the calendar and then click, you'll see that all of the days have changed, as has the top of the calendar. Let's try another language here. Let's go with Hong Kong. So let's see how they're looking at calendars these days. So saving and refreshing, click, and there is our Hong Kong calendar. Although it looks a bit mad, doesn't it? I wonder if we can do just one more. Let's go with Hebrew. I wonder what Hebrew looks like. I imagine it looks like Leonardo's writing, you know? Handwriting. Well, there you go. Interesting. So, one of the things that we'll be focusing on with this framework is making it truly multilingual. I haven't said this yet, and it's kind of a secret, but I'm hoping... Oh, pardon me, I was too loud. The music, pardon me. One of the things I have not mentioned yet is, but you're the first to hear it, is that I want to get this to a point where it can generate code in any of these languages, any of these ones here, which, if that happens, that will be a world first. Nobody has done a framework that does that yet. or anything close. Not that I'm expecting that'll change much. We have plenty of world firsts here, right? But that's just what I'm planning on doing, just so you know. Right, so let's get going with this, and I want to focus my attention on this little button here, this pop-up arrow. So let's have a look here. I'm gonna okay, so I'm gonna open up this date time thing, and I'm gonna look at, now actually I just thought of something. There's something that I'd really like to figure out here. Yeah, there's a strange behaviour that I need to just figure something out. Give me a minute. It's literally just a JavaScript thing that has been on my mind. So if I say first name Harry, right? Then I'm going to go here. Now, let me just try something. So it says first name is not defined. Let me do a hard reload. Okay. I'm going to need to ask a question of the employee of the month here. Now, give me a minute. Okay. Okay. I have added a new first name property onto my object like so. If I attempt to console.log the first name, I get an error that says first name is not defined. This is not what I was expecting, particularly given your previous answer regarding closure. Can you offer an explanation as to why my first name property is resulting in an error, whereas assumed date does not? Here's my code. Alright. The reason you're encountering an error is that the first name is not defined as a variable within the local scope of that. The closure concept I explained applies when accessing properties of the object within the method of that object, but it automatically, but it doesn't automatically apply to first name is not part of the date time. In contrast, but first name is a part of it. That's understood, but I would insist that first name is and was a part of the Trongate date time object. If you refer to my previous question, you'll see the following code, and as you can see, first name is indeed being declared as being part of the Trongate date time object. You are correct, and I appreciate your clarification. Given that first name is indeed part of the Trongate date time object, it should be accessible within the Trongate object methods. In your code snippet, the Trongate date time object is correctly defined with first name included. However, it seems that this may not be directly referencing that. Let's adjust the relevant part of your code to ensure it references the thing correctly. Ensure that if you continue, okay. I understand that calling that will remove the error message. However, this does not explain why assumed date is not producing an error message, even though it apparently should. Please do take a closer look at my function and notice how assumed date is being referenced on its own without Trongate date time object being referenced. So let's go back up here. In particular, I draw your attention to I apologise for any confusion. The reason assumed date is accessible without using the Trongate datetime object is due to the fact that assumed date is a property of the Trongate datetime object. When a property is declared, you can access it directly. In the code you provided, assumed date is part of the object, and the JavaScript engine looks for that. Since it's not defined locally, it looks in the outer scope. Therefore, there is no need to use Trongate. In contrast, Trongate first name is not declared, but as a standalone variable. I would like to call into question this statement. Unless I'm very much mistaken, first name is being defined as a property within the Trongate datetime object. Again, here's a reminder of my object initialization. Code, and I would draw your attention to the first name property, which, as you can see, is being clearly defined as being a part of the object. I appreciate your patience, and I apologize for any confusion. I misunderstood your question. Given your object initialization code, first name is indeed a property of the Trongate datetime object. In that case, you should be able to access it within methods of the same object. Therefore, your original code should work as expected. That is fine and good. The challenge I have is that my function is producing an error when I reference first name without on the other hand, ref Okay, rather than explore this issue in detail, would it be a better practice to simply use Okay, that's fine, that's what I'm going to do. Well, there's an interesting... Michael, how you doing, my friend? Nice to see you, nice to see you. Welcome, welcome. What a way to start the week. A little discussion. A miserable one, I have to say, with ChatGPT. No fun at all. No fun at all. Anyway, I'll just put that in the twilight zone and move on as best as I can. So what I'm going to do then is each and every one of these properties, when I reference it, it's going to be referenced as being part of a greater object. And the reason why I'm doing that is to avoid variable conflicts, you know. So here, for example, we've got a variable called active type, but somebody might have another variable called that. So if I put active type inside this object declaration, do you see what I'm saying here? And that's what's happening here. So here we create this thing. So for example, this is a wee bit confusing, right? Let's take this out and we'll go like this. And again, all I'm trying to do is make it so that whenever I reference date picker calendar, it's updating the object, which I'm calling Trongate date time object. The chances of somebody making up an object and calling it Trongate date time object are virtually impossible. So there we go, and I think that's looking okay. Now, what's going on here? Okay, so again, I'm just going to paste in that. See how I'm making it just a part of the overall object, you know? Now that whole thing's going to need to be rebuilt, by the way, but let's not get into that right now. Okay, now let's save and refresh. Okay, now what happened there? We know what happened there. The reason why that's producing an error is because this has already been declared. So we have to take that out. Now here it's saying we're back to this first name is not defined. Alright. So at least it's now referencing first name. Now I'm going to take this out. I don't actually even need this. I just wanted to figure out how you access these things. So here we are. Date picker calendar is now always being referenced within the context of the Trongate date time object. Once again, folks, the reason why we've made that change is to avoid any confusion with regards to conflicting variable names and stuff like that. So again, assumed date. Whenever we see assumed date, we're chucking in this thing. Nice. And the funny thing, by the way, for anybody watching, see when I'm doing this, if you're looking at any of this and saying, well, what does that mean? What does that variable do and how does this work? The honest answer is I don't have a clue. I would have had a clue for a minute or two when I wrote it, but then it's gone, you know? And one of the, like, when you code for insane amounts of hours every day, one of the things that is helpful, and I always talk about this, is if you don't think, So you think about coding. I mean, this is a Monday morning. And as you can see, I'm in the depths of the bowels of some pretty heavy JavaScript here. I don't consider myself a JavaScript genius or anything by a long shot. But as you can see, I'm kind of disconnected from it. I'm not really using my brain. I'm just taking each thing moment by moment, you know. So that takes care of assumed date. Now I'm going to look for today date, and all I'm doing is making sure that every mention of today date has got that date time object, and it works. Here's this date format. So again, you can see we've got this issue right here. So we have to add this in at the start whenever we mention this date format. Okay, if established date format, I have no idea what that is. Let's look at this. So init date formats is a function. It looks at... Right, okay, I don't know what's going on with that, and it bothers me. So that's going to need a wee bit of work. I'm not going to worry about it too much, but... Oh, I think I've figured it out. Okay, so let's just have a look at this. I'm going to say here we go. Click. Oh, hang on, that's already said that. Right, rock and roll. So you can see it says rock and roll. So it's being called immediately. Now, if I console.log date format, we get an error. If I console.log Trongate date time object date format, we get undefined. So again, date format could be the wrong variable name. I'm not seeing date format. I think it's... You know what? I'm going to take it out. And then right, okay. So this function here, this init date formats. I'm going to console.log result is Result has a type of object. Okay, so this okay. Have we established date time object? I think that's what we're doing. Now, let me do a little bunch of these things. I'm going to console.log Trongate datetime object, this date format. Then I'm going to console.log Trongate datetime object, this locale string. Okay. Okay. Right, they are empty strings. So what we really want to do is something like the following. Okay, that's cool. Right, I've figured out the purpose of this. Have we established right? It's important for us to know this. Now the question is, init Trongate date time only gets, check this out, right? Check out the logic. Init Trongate datetime always gets called once. Always. Every single time. And every time it gets called, it runs this. And this does whatever it does and returns false, or yeah, basically every single time. So I was right with what I said a minute ago. We can take that out. We can absolutely take that out like this. Then we can take this if statement and take it out here as well. Because we know that it's going to be false, so there's no point in doing a song and dance and doing a little test or whatever. Of course it's going to be false. So we do that. And then we set the different things, and that is it. Loving it. Loving it. Now, date format result is not defined, it says. So, okay, so we know that these are false, so we're going to take these out. Like this. Let's have a little smug indent. Okay, there we go. There we go. Beautiful. Beautiful. So we're getting an error on click day, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. The main thing that I want to do is I'll just comment this out, and I'm going to console.log Trongate datetime object dot this format, or this date format. So check this: day day, month month, year year. If I open up config.php and take this out, this is a British date format, and I've explicitly said that's how I like my dates, but I'm going to comment it out. Refresh. Now it's given me an American format, which is fantastic. Again, I'll go down here. I'm going to console.log Trongate datetime object, this locale string. You'll see that it says English GB, but if I comment this out, it's going to say English US, because that is going to be the default for the framework. And that is awesome. That is really great. Now that involved a little bit of thinking, which I don't like doing. So now I'm going to veg out again and go through these different bits and pieces. We know that assumed date is good, so I'm just making sure that this assumed date thing has the Trongate datetime object before it. Okay, let's look at today date. That's fine. Looking at this date format, so all I'm doing is making sure that the Trongate datetime object gets referenced. There's nothing fancy happening here. Let's go with this locale string. So Trongate datetime object, this locale string. Oh, there's one where we miss it. So that's what we're doing. It gets rid of ambiguity, you know. Good. Now we're going to do target input value. That's good. 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 Assumed Trongate base URL. So again, we're adding in this. There you go. Do you see how I'm just getting rid of the ambiguity here? That's the vibe. Now here again you can see it. So we're going to say that Trongate pages object. So I'm being really clear. Good. Back upstairs, couple more to do. Here's day names. That is excellent. And finally, here comes month names. So I'm literally just making sure that every one of them has this object in front of it, which it does. So I'll save and refresh. And when we... Oh, right. Obviously, that's not quite working. So let's click. There you go. Beautiful. Not too bad, not too bad. So anyway, I wonder what you're working on today. Hopefully it's good. We have Stefan here. And not Mark Knopfler. How you doing, man? Nice to see you. So we have Michael Levitt, not Mark Knopfler. Very good to see you, my friend. Stefan Hummel, and it's very good to see you. I hope you're doing okay. Now Michael says, never seen anyone use let const and var together. Have you got a lot of variables you need to redeclare or hoist to the top? Well, let's have a look at that. Maybe it's a mistake. Let's have a look. Nah, that's just a mistake, actually. That's a well-spotted mistake. So let's sort that one out. Thank you for that, Michael. Can you please modernize this code by using const and let where possible? Please also add any other changes or improvements as required. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that. So here's a modernized version of the code. Alright. I mean, there are times when there's... Whoops. There are times when there's a legitimate reason for doing this, but... Hello? Oh, good. Okay then. Did you talk to her or was it just a text? Okay. Okay. That's fine. It will be fine. There shall be no drama. It'll be absolutely fine, and hopefully she's had a better day than yesterday. Okay, good. Not to worry then, that's great. Okay, thanks for letting me know. So when will you be over here, do you reckon? 2:45? Excellent. Okay, I'll be ready. Alright. No worries. Cheerio now. Bye. Yeah. So, I'm not going to go into what that phone call was about, but you know, we have someone staying over at the moment, and I think, well, let's put it this way. I think that there has been a sort of personality clash, you know, because I like people who are like this. And when you have somebody around who's like this, it's a challenge for me to cope with that. And so I have this thing, a sort of defense mechanism, which is that if somebody appears to be stroppy or moody or argumentative or constantly joyless, I'll generally deal with that by saying bye and just walking out. It's just the way that I deal with things. I do not shout, I do not criticize, I don't argue, I don't insult, I just leave. And that is a behavioural pattern that seems to be blowing the minds of one or two people lately. So last night, we went to the, and I'm not giving any names or anything, but we went to go and see a concert, classical music concert, you know. And I thought it was rotten, if I'm being honest with you. It just kept going on and on and on. No breaks, no nothing. What was it called again? Requiem. Verdi's Requiem or something. Anyway, it was one of these classical numbers that you just couldn't get into. There was nothing to cling on to, if you know what I mean, musically. And it had been going for an hour with no breaks. And you're not allowed to clap, of course. Classical music's really weird that way. So between each of the movements, there's a big pause, and it's silent. You're not allowed to clap, you know. It's all just a bit odd. And 1 hour into it, I whispered something into the ear of my lady wonder wench, and it was just a stupid thing. I made a remark about the complexity of the music, to which the person who was with us responded with, shh, angry face. And I kind of thought, well, that's a bit of a downer. I mean, it's not like I had been some obnoxious idiot who was going around kicking chairs or talking on my phone or whatever. I made literally one comment, a comment of musicality, whispering in the ear of a person in a big, massive concert hall. My comment was not an inconvenience to anybody, but there I was at the receiving end of a shh, shh. And as soon as we got out, I thought to myself, I bet you this beautiful person who is with us is gonna, and the only word is reprimand, me again for the dreaded whisper. And as we headed out, we got to the top of Buchanan Street. Sure enough, I got reprimanded. You can't talk during a musical concert. Who thought of such a thing? And at that point, we soon got into the train station. My lady wonder wench says, what's the name of this line we're getting, this train line? And I said, well, for me, it's called the end of the line, because I am done with this shit. Would you like the umbrella, or will I take it? Because I'm just going to walk home. And it's like, what? What the hell? Really? You're going to walk home? How? How can this be? And I said, well, look, clearly I had I've brought shame upon humanity by whispering a solitary sentence during a classical concert, and I must be shamed. So I'd like to just walk home. It's about a 5-mile walk. I'd like to walk home in the rain to contemplate my shame. I think it might be the appropriate punishment in this particular instance. And that was my night last night. Now, in the end, I didn't walk home, but I'm kind of wishing I had walked home. Hear my accent. Home. You got to hear my real accent there. So anyway, so there are certain personality types where, I mean, might as well turn this into the DC opens up his heart thing. Like, my dad, in some respects, was the coolest dad that you could ever ask for. He looked like Clint Eastwood. Now, I know that I don't look like Clint Eastwood, but he did. I remember the first time I saw Dirty Harry on TV, and I was really small, and I looked and I was like, that guy looks exactly like my dad, And not only that, but he was a chauffeur, and he drove the same car as the Equalizer. Big, fancy Jaguar Sovereign. Sometimes he'd drive a Rolls Royce. These Rolls Royces in today's value are about $250,000 plus. So imagine being driven to school in a Rolls Royce or in the big Jaguar that the Equalizer drove and being dropped off by Clint Eastwood. Except my dad was funnier than Clint Eastwood and wittier, and he was good company, So in many respects, how cool must that have been, That's my dad. The dude in the Equalizer car who looks like Clint Eastwood, who's funny and charming and everything. What a lucky guy. But unfortunately, and I'll never refrain from being quiet about this, unfortunately there was another side to my dad, which was that he was an alcoholic, and I'm using past tense because eventually that's what got him. In the other room there, probably about 15 metres away, there is a suitcase. And inside the suitcase, there are leaflets that say mega cheap web pages. I've showed you that before. And I've spoken about how I got started in the mid-90s by dishing out these leaflets I printed out that said mega cheap web pages. I never knew the difference between a web page and a website back then, but that was how I got started. You've seen that briefcase before. I could bring it in if you want. It's just right in the other room. But the one thing you haven't seen is the other thing that's in the briefcase. The other thing that's in the briefcase is my dad's death certificate. And on the death certificate it says cause of death, alcoholism. I know it's not what you want to hear, especially on a Monday morning, but it happened. I'm not going to deny it happened. I'm not going to sugarcoat it or anything. Somebody said the other day, what kind of whiskey have you got in the background here? I haven't got any whiskey. The only time I've ever purchased whiskey is when I had toothache. It's really good for that. I don't have any whiskey. I'm looking after some silverware for someone. I haven't got anywhere else to put it. But I'm not here to preach or anything. All I can tell you is that did happen, and that was part of life for me. And those of you who have lived with alcoholics or drug addicts or people who have addictions will know all about the cycle. When you live with someone who has that type of challenge, every day they're somewhere on this cycle, and they're either in a really great mood and the best person in the world, the most charming, the most funny, the most fun, you name it, it's fantastic, or they are here, in which case everybody's having a bad day. And I remember, I must have only been 7 or 8 years old, but I remember watching my dad walking back. There was a kind of spare ground, you know. If I was being romantic, I would call it a field, but it wasn't really. It was just some spare ground. And I remember seeing my dad walking home and having a sense of dread, because it was like, is he going to be in a good mood, in which case it's party time, or is he going to be in a bad mood, in which case it's, I won't be so dramatic as to say hell on earth, but impossible to live with, for sure. And I had that sense of dread, and everybody around about my family did, if they're being honest. Eventually my parents got divorced when I was about 9 years old. And funny thing is, my dad kept in touch, and he was cool, and he was great, and him and my mum ended up good friends and everything, and it was kind of strange, but in a bizarre way, that whole thing turned out well. But I do remember having this incredible sense of relief that took me a long time to get over, because the moment my parents split up, suddenly I never had to worry about if somebody's in a good mood or a bad mood. Suddenly I could just get on with life. And it was this incredible sense of freedom. It was like, I'll use an overly dramatic phrase, but it was like the tyrant has gone. And I remember just like, this is great. I never knew life could be like this. You mean to say that I can get on with my day, have a good day, have a bad day or anything, and none of that is affected by whether somebody else is in a good mood or a bad mood? This is great. I'm in heaven. And I felt that for a long time, and eventually it must have became normality at some point. I came to terms with the idea that it's normal, folks. It's normal, to live a life where you're not constantly like, oh, they're in a good mood or a bad mood today. Oh, that's normal. And so that is normal. But then suddenly I find myself hanging about, and we have somebody over visiting who is constantly either in like really stroppy. I keep coming back to this word reprimanded. I got reprimanded for a long list of bullshit yesterday. I got reprimanded for daring to talk during the 2-minute silence that was on the radio. I got reprimanded for whispering during a concert. I got reprimanded for deciding to turn back and get my coat because it was freezing cold. Reprimanded. And it came to a point last night where I just suddenly realised that this is almost like this world that I had left so many decades ago, where I'm like, oh, is this person in a good mood or a bad mood? And so, that was my weekend, you know. But I'll say this much. You know, I mentioned Clint Eastwood today. I headed to my mum's last night after all of this bullshit soap opera had happened. And A Fistful of Dollars was on TV. The Clint Eastwood movie. That great movie. I never watched the whole thing, but I saw the best scene. You're going to apologise to my mule. Remember all of that? And as I watched that character on the screen, I realised that is the blueprint, ladies and gentlemen. It's not, maybe it's not the Equalizer actually. It's that guy. Because that guy, that character is untouchable. You're not going to ruin his day by saying, hey, Dirty Harry, your tie isn't straight or something. He's kind of removed. He's kind of aloof. And that is the guy that I need to be. Do you know what I'm saying? Anyway, that was my weekend. I hope you had a good weekend. Oh, jeez. Alright, let me see if I can get some light in here. Everybody okay? Are we alive? I'm waffling away here. Ahoy! Thank you. The great Simon is here, the godfather of speed coding himself. How are you doing, my friend? Everything okay? How are you getting on with that watch, by the way? Simon and I like watches. And we're on a secret mission. I've used VAR everywhere here. I never even realised. Jeez. Yeah, Simon and I have an interest in watches, and we are on a secret mission to turn this channel into a watch channel. I don't know if we're going to succeed though. That was very nicely spotted to Michael there. You're absolutely right, and I appreciate that. I'm using VAR all over the place. Jeez, oh. I never even noticed it. Yeah, so anyway, I apologise for babbling on about all of that bullshit soap opera from last night, but, you know, if I can't talk to you, then who the hell else can I talk to? That is just the weekend that I had, and it was, well, I'm not going to be overly dramatic and say it was hellish or anything, but it just wasn't much fun, you know? Sometimes I think maybe I'm better off just being a coding recluse guy, you know? And I say that as if to say that I'm some kind of talented fucking coder. And that's certainly not the case. I saw a guy on Twitter, a complete dipshit, this Laravel guy, who posts coding problems and stuff like that. Anyway, he posts these little coding challenges that nobody ever responds to. He badmouthed Trongate and then got a chance to talk with me privately and suddenly was like, you know, maybe it's not that bad. You and I have got a lot in common and all of that. And I saw somebody, because everybody's a bunch of panic merchants, somebody had posted a thing about what would you do if not a developer. I'm sure they would have been worrying about AI or something, I don't know. But somebody had posted that. So what would you do if you were not a web developer? Now, I wonder what you would do. I'll tell you what I would do. For me, I would be an antiques dealer. I would be good at that. I love antiques, you know. Surrounded with antiques. You can see them, right? So I would be an antiques dealer. Just like my dad, actually. He was an antiques dealer. So that's what I would do. I wonder what you would do. Let me know in the comments. But this guy, this Laravel guy, this Trongate naysayer, you know what he says he would do? He says, if I was not a developer, I'd be a software engineer or a coder or something like that. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Okay. So what's the takeaway? What is it the guy's saying? Well, apart from the fact that he has a kind of shit sense of humour, apart from the fact that he hasn't been laid in a long time, what's he actually telling us? What's the takeaway? I think the takeaway is, oh, what an incredible guy. What an incredible genius. He's so into coding that if he wasn't a web developer, he'd be a software programmer. Oh man, humour and genius all rolled into one. Here's the truth. I realised about 5 years ago that we're all winging it. All of us. I mean, there's nobody who knows IT. I don't know it. You don't know it. Nobody does. You might know a part of it. You might be an expert at one little part, if you're maybe lucky too. But that's your whack. And I think that the good news is that people are kind of intelligent and they see through the bullshit. So for example, if you're posting things on Twitter like, here's today's web development problem, you know, or here's the history of web development, tweet, 3 weeks later, oh, number 75, Elmo Fudge Muffin developed the F clause or some horse shit. And nobody's reading it. Nobody cares. Well, why not just be honest? Why not just be honest with the fucking human race? And what does being honest mean? I'll tell you what it means. Being honest means, hey Twitter, I need fucking money. Would you please consider hiring me? That's it. And nobody has the balls to say that. Nobody has the balls to say it. It's much easier. Instead of asking for money, it's much easier to do a little series on the history of IT, or to say, oh, if I wasn't a developer, if I wasn't a developer, I'd be a fucking software engineer. Let's all do the laugh. Did I ever tell you how to look like Prince Charles, by the way? I believe some are calling him King Charles. Did I ever tell you how you do the face? Here's how you do it. Have a look at the camera. Check this out. If you want to look like Prince Charles, you smile, right? So do a smiley face. Let's all do it together. Smile, right? Okay. Now do a sad face. A sad face, right? Sad face, smiley face, smiley face, sad face. Right. Now I want you to combine your smiley face with your sad face. I want you to have like a little kind of battlefield warfare with the smiley face fighting the sad face. Now that doesn't mean neutral. It means that you have conflict. So check it out, right? So it's like this. It's like it's like that. It's like, yeah. It's like, I can't do the voice, but it's like it's kind of like fuck yeah. Okay, I'll get back to the code. That went badly, that's for sure. It's the mouth. It's the mouth. It's the I can't do it. It's like one of those moments where you're at one of those stupid karaoke's and you say, yeah, I'll put my name down for that, and as soon as it starts you say, why did I do this? I once went to a karaoke and I sang that U2 song, Beautiful Day. I really like that song, you know, and I put my name down for it. You know the one? See the da-da, green and blue. See the da-da, da-da-da-da. I was like, yeah, I'm going to sing that song. And as soon as it started, oh man, I realised I cannot sing any of this stuff. Nightmare. Okay, I think that's it. I think that's it. Anyway, forgive me if I'm waffling. Alright, something like that. Okay, let's see what you got here. Let's see what you got. Thank you very much, Simon. Now, not Mark Knopfler here is saying, yeah, I would have probably had a similar reaction, perhaps even more volatile. The strange thing is, you find that as you get older, you care less and less what people think about you. I totally get that, and it's a beautiful thing. So when I was younger in that situation, I may have said nothing and embarrassed or even apologised. Anyway, I appreciate the feedback. I think that one of the things, just to stay with that for a second, not Mark Knopfler, one of the things that's a real challenge for guys in particular is that there's a real shortage of role models, you know. There's a real kind of good guy famine going on. And even a lot of the guys that we grew up thinking, oh, there's a cool dude. There's a cool dude. Well, they either got killed off by Disney or they turned out to be maybe not quite so cool. So take, for example, okay, who's a classic cool dude of the early 80s? I'll give you an example. Burt Reynolds, right? Smokey and the Bandit, Cannonball Run and everything. Had it all going on for him. I read one time that Freddie Mercury based his looks on Burt Reynolds. Who can blame him? Burt Reynolds had everything going for him. You could look at Burt Reynolds and say, now, there's a cool guy. But you go and watch Smokey and the Bandit. Watch really closely. And you'll find scenes where they'll drive in to some place in the middle of nowhere. They'll buy a ton of beer and they're driving about drinking beer in their Trans Ams. Now, I'm not being woke or anything about this, but I look at that now and I think, man, is that really cool? Is that really the blueprint for cool? I'm not so sure. When I look in the real world, I see a complete... I mean, let me show you something. Here's one of my role models of the past. Michael Johnson, the former two-time Olympic champion. He smashed the record for the 400 and the 200. And I've got little short legs. I used to do a lot of running. And he kind of reminded me of me in terms of his running style and stuff. And I was such an inspiration by Michael Johnson. This is his book, Slaying the Dragon. And in this book, he talks about how he trained for 10 years without missing a session. Now, I don't want to do anything outwardly aggressive or anything here, but watch. So, Michael Johnson thinks it's acceptable for a guy to declare himself female and to go win all of the medals and deprive women of an opportunity to compete in a fair and level playing field. At least that's what it looks like, and he dare not say a word that goes against the BBC narrative. So unfortunately, he's basically a coward, you know, and along with all of my other junk, you know. Sorry, Michael. There you go. Binned. So this is the problem that men have. We have a real shortage of role models. Whenever I've found a role model, the role model has turned out to be a dipshit. You just saw it there with Michael Johnson. And look at our leaders and everywhere you go, even our athletes, musicians and all of that. They've always disappointed. And so for me, I find myself looking towards fiction a lot. And at the moment, I can only see a few glimmers of light, you know. One of them I've mentioned before is The Equalizer. It's like, there's a person to be. The other is Clint Eastwood's character. Let's face it, he was pretty much the same character in all the movies. And there's one or two others there as well. I'm sure there's one or two from Breaking Bad, you know. But I think that there is a sort of challenge of masculinity because men don't have positive role models these days. And it's a problem, you know. Anyway, what else have we got? Simon here says working on his router settings. Heavy stuff. Watch is going great and thanks for asking. That's amazing. I have a question, Simon. Do you feel different when you have the watch on? That's my question. Here's Not Mark Knopfler. Now, someone wishing to reprimand me, and that would have got both barrels incoming. I get what you're saying, but the thing is, she's only 15 years old, you know? So I can't, you know, she's only 15 years old and she's a guest. I'm not going to raise my voice or anything. The blueprint cool for males is getting up out of bed every day and doing what must be done to take care of your family. And telling your family that you love them, that's it. I agree, but who's doing it? That's all there is to it. Okay, fair enough. Right, okay, this is all turning into a bit of a counselling session today, folks, and I apologise for that. It's probably not what you came here for, you know. Anyway, shall we continue with this coding nonsense? As if that's what we care about. Anyway, I must confess, I've found it to be a challenge, that's for sure. Alright, now I'm going to do that little thing there. Get add all, get commit cleaned up code. Thanks, Michael. That was all thanks to Michael, you know. I think he's headed off. Anyway, so we have these arrows, and I'm trying to... Oh, here we go. So we've got change month. There it is right there. Change month. Okay. Now, I have no idea what this is doing. So let me just console.log. Direction is direction. And let me console.log. JSON.stringify Trongate date time object. And we'll see what that does. Yeah, talking about all of this bullshit depresses me, you know. And I apologise, because nobody should be depressed. You know, it's not why we're here. But on the other hand, it sounds like we're all going through the same shit as far as I can tell. It's funny how I'm having a hard time with this. I can't copy the... Why won't it let me copy the stuff? Copy. That is so annoying. I'm having difficulty. So right click. So we open the console.log, we right click on the console logged object, select store as global or copy object. And we certainly don't have that. That's really annoying. Oh, what was that? Oh, geez, look at this. Oh, finally. Okay. Can you help me to improve this my the following JavaScript function. Do you know what? I don't need ChatGPT. I am Luke Skywalker on that X-Wing fighter. I'll figure it out myself. I'll figure it out. Okay. So now that I've established that, let me console.log current month. It's funny that, innit? I just had that moment. It's like, nope, don't need it. Now it says that the current month is 10, which is fine. Takes a date object and sets the month for a specified. Takes, okay, good. Right, let's look at this slowly then, right? We do not need ChatGPT. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna say that's the date. Now let's just try a little experiment. If I go like this and say set month 3, it should say February. It says April. But why? No. Doesn't make sense. Okay, if I say 0, is it going to say January? It does say January. So 1's January, 2's February. That's right. Oh, pardon me. 2's March. 3 is April. That's right. So if this is pretty cool, we get the current month. So around about here, I'm gonna console.log this dot assumed date. So here we are, it's November. That says December, which is correct. I'm gonna go back. October, November, that's right as well. So this code is good. Absolutely good. Okay. But then we've got a thing called refresh date picker head. Let's look at that. So refresh date picker head. Okay, we're going to try something a bit strange here. I'm going to say target div.innerHTML is howdy. So if I click that, it changes to the word howdy. So we're now going to look for the Right, do you see how we've got this build date picker head thing here? Why is current month num being mentioned here? It does not even get used. So that goes from line 36 to line 81. That goes here. So okay. Why does the code contain this line if the You're correct. Can you find any other unnecessary variables or potential improvements? I can confirm that my priority is to have meaningful text displaying on the calendar head that is sensitive to the locale string. Examples of valid locale strings are my goal is to make the calendar multi-lingual. Certainly a few areas where we can make improvement. Okay. So this calls get current month name. Now I'm going to change this to Trongate date time object dot Alright. So again, I'm putting this behind this Trongate object thing to avoid variable name conflicts. Okay, that stupid howdy thing is still there. Right. So, that's looking good. Now, I've got another thing. Thank you. Here is my new and refactored code, and I'm happy with this. Would it be possible to isolate the section of code that is responsible for producing calendar head text and having that inside its own function? Beautiful. That is a good effort. However, I'd like the function to be called Trongate date time object dot get calendar head text. I want the function to produce all of the text that will be in the calendar head section, and I'd like it to do so in a way that is sensitive to the locale string variable. In the case of a UK based calendar with a locale string of an example of appropriate calendar head text would be November. Good. So now we've got that. Good. That's excellent. So we're going to go like this now. And you can see that we've now got this get calendar head text here. This function has become a lot more compact. And if we click, it works perfectly. Now, because we have got this get calendar text thing now appearing here, what that means is that when we call refresh date picker head, you can see this is of course the thing that's given us howdy, right? But what we can now do is something like the following. We can go like that, and then simply say that this equals this, and then get rid of all of this stuff. So now, ha ha, ha ha, how do you like me now? How do you like me now, O people of the planet Earth? That's it. That is beautiful. Loving it. Okay, let's have a little commit. Calendar head text from very nice. You can see that the code here is just great, you know, it's really, really great. Computer, how much time is left?
There are no timers set. You have one alarm in 23 minutes and 59 seconds.
23 minutes and 59 seconds. I am out of here. Thank you, Simon. God bless you, my friend. Yeah, so Simon, it makes me feel good. That's the style. To change the subject, currently playing slide guitar on an open E tuning. Try it, it's awesome. Totally changed how I look at the guitar. Well, listen to a lot of Chris Rea at the moment. Very nice, very nice. I think Chris Rea has the best Christmas song ever. I love Driving Home for Christmas. I'm driving home for Christmas. You know the one? I love it. He went through a very radical appearance change. I wonder what happened. Anyway, so we have some cool tunes. I can't play them, unfortunately. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm actually selling all of my guitars. I'm selling them today after this live stream. So I'm selling my guitars. What else am I selling? I'm selling an iMac if anybody wants one. I'm selling laptops. I'll probably sell some watches. If there's anything you want to buy, just let me know. There's a chance that I'm selling it. Yep, that's the way it goes. Would you mind if I go just get a quick tea? I'll be right back. Look at that beauty, Simon. Isn't that a cracker? That has got to be my fave so far. Anyway, give me a second. I will be right back. Enjoy the music. I'm just going to top this tea up here. So to give you an idea of what I'm planning here, I don't know if this idea will ever see the light of day or not, but I'd like to get to a point where you could set a language, and whatever language you set, all of the framework generates code in that language. So if you choose Arabic, it will set the Arabic character set, it will set the language at the top of the HTML documents. Your text will be going from right to left and all of that stuff. And the code generator would produce Arabic text as well. I say Arabic because I think it's the most difficult and awkward of all the languages I've dealt with so far. So I would really, really love to make this framework multilingual. One of the challenges though is that what's the fucking point? We can't even get 1,000 stars. It's clearly a cancelled framework. Clearly. The wokeists have done a number on this framework. We're not getting any help from anyone like who's one of the top influencers or anything like that. So I'm sort of thinking to myself, what's the point in embarking on a big project like that and making it all multilingual and everything if nobody's giving the darn thing a star? That's not necessarily me being depressing or anything like that. Perhaps there is a lot to be said for just, we can use it for ourselves, right? I know it sounds kind of desperate, right? But it can be, it can still be a cool framework. We know that we're whooping everybody. So who cares about the rest of the world? And on that interesting note, I had something else to say, but I've lost my train of thought. I think I'm all over the place today, and I apologise. But I think that AI has been like a meteorite smashing into the web development universe. I saw a couple of videos yesterday and I had to stop watching. It was too depressing. People saying, oh, what's the point? Web development's dead and so on. I don't get that at all. I don't think that's the takeaway. But one takeaway that I do think is legitimate is that we ought to start becoming serious about building our own applications instead of just building them for other people. That, my friend, is the takeaway. And when it comes to that takeaway, we shall win. We shall win because we've got the fastest framework and we're V1 forever. So one of the things that I would not look at that beautiful suit that's came in from AliExpress. I'm going to start buying my clothes from here. 32 quid. Isn't that a cracker? Look at it. You look like Gatsby if you wear that thing. I'm loving that. Anyway, let's have a wee look at some of the AliExpress deals, shall we? I'm liking this orange watch. I slipped off my chair. I like this orange watch here. The Nautilus. Look at these. Isn't that a nice... Focus, you swine. Focus. There you go. I am liking that one for sure. What else have we got here? I had a real embarrassing moment a few weeks ago. I don't know if I should mention it. But I headed on. I'm not even going to mention it. Let's just say I says, let's take a look at eBay, and something you did not want to come up came up. There's a few really nice ones here. That's a cool watch. Look at the square one. Green. See it? That is a very nice watch. I don't know if it's a real... Let's focus. Focus. Come on. Is it going to focus? Oh, the minute I move it. And it's a shame. It's a shame. Anyway, it's a Seiko mechanical. I'm loving the Frederick Constant watch. I'm sure you've seen that one, Simon. But I feel like I'm all done with watches. I've got all of the, I'm wearing my favourite watch. And I've got watches for every day of the month, just about. So what now, What other stuff shall we buy? Anyway, give me a wee second. I'll just get some tea here. Now this is exactly the kind of content that I want from you folks. We have a watch recommendation here from the man himself. Let's see what you got, Daffa. Oh geez, you're gonna get me banned, my friend. Oh no, oh no. No. Nah, man, I couldn't do that. I've got to take myself seriously, do you know what I mean? You can do that because you're in a different place. But I have to make an effort to be serious, or to be seen to be serious. If somebody saw me with a watch like that, with the kind of earnings I've got, they'd probably be saying to themselves, they'd probably be thinking, I don't know, I guess he must have melted his watch or something. I don't know. I don't think they would even recognise it as a joke, But I do appreciate the recommendation. For me, the watch journey is just about complete. In fact, I'll show you my watches. Now these are just a few of them. There's not a complete set. We won't go through them all, but I can tell you that my favourite, well, I have so many favourites, you know. I mean, it's like asking somebody to choose a favourite child. By the way, I posted a video where I spoke about my watches, and not only did it not get any comments, but I actually lost subscribers with that video, so I took it down. This is why leaving likes and comments is kind of important, you know. But in any event, these are the watches, and I just think that they're brilliant. As I look at them, almost every one is a winner for me. There's one or two that never quite hit the mark that should have, but strangely enough, the two that I wear the most are the two cheapest. So this one here is probably the one that I'm going to wear most. I'll be wearing that 90% of the time. And it's just because this watch here has nothing to prove to anyone. This watch is in a state of harmony. It tells me the day, it tells me the date. The hands are really clear. One of the huge problems I have with watches that annoys the heck out of me is this. You take this watch here. See the amount of times I've looked at this and I've thought that the second hand is the big hand. It's a pain in the arse, you know. I find that to be confusing. I don't like it. And I have had times where I have to look and go, what time is it? And I can't work it out because of the stupid second hands, you know. So this is a huge problem. And the reason why I like this watch is because the second hand is very clearly defined. As you can see, the second hand is red. You're not getting mixed up with that. You look at that, it's as clear as anything, night or day. It's absolutely crystal clear, that watch. The other watch that I wear a lot is this one, which cost only £1.50, as you know. But if you look at the face, there is no second hand. And I like that. I don't want a second hand if possible. I want it to just look like a clock, you know. And so that is my £1.50 watch, and I wear it all the time. I really, really like it. Now I've got others that kind of look a bit more flashy, but those are the ones that I like. I'm kind of saddened by the fact that I don't get a chance to wear them all. It's a shame that you have to just wear one at a time, because there's some of them that I really, really like. But this one is the winner. For me, that's the winner right there. That tells you everything you need to know about me. You know? Anyway, that's the watches. What else have we got here? Rolex Daytona. Oh, you like the Daytona? I had a fake one that you bought in Malaysia. Nice. It's an Explorer homage melted. Look, I never even noticed that it was an Explorer homage. I can see that now though. Yeah. Okay. I have a beautiful Citizen Eco Drive in gold, which reminds me of a poor man's Daytona. That sounds excellent. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, it's okay. Let me bring it up on the screen. It's not too bad, as you can see. I like it. But I don't know if I like the faces on it, the way they're kind of halfway house. Do you know what I mean? I think they would have been better if they'd have been full on Daytona homage or side by side. Like if you had side by side, just two of these side by side, and a brown strap, you would have the Gus Fring watch or something similar, which would be pretty cool. But it's an alright watch. I like the bracelet for sure. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. What else have we got? Any other cool gear? Oh, that's what I was going to talk about when I said I'd lost my train of thought. I'm all watched up, you know. I'm all watched up. All of my dream watches are here. And I'm just really happy with them, you know. But having said all of that, I can't find watches that are better. There's a couple that I would like. I would like I've got two Holy Grail watches that I would really like, okay? And I'll tell you what they are. You know what they are. In fact, I wonder, maybe you can tell me which one's the best. So the first Grail watch, and I'll bring the screen on for this, would be a Rolex Explorer 36mm. I'm sure Simon knew that. It's quite a small watch, very understated, and here it is right here. So that is one of my Holy Grail watches. Because it is understated, but you're walking about with $5,000 on you and nobody even knows it. And it's cool, you know. The second Holy Grail watch that is on my list would be an Omega Speedmaster 57. The 57 is important. And that would be the burgundy one. That watch right there. That one. Why? Well, both of these watches that I'm showing you have got really clear hands. Even though this has got a lot of things going on, the hands, thanks to the arrow and the brightness, it stands out. So you'd be able to tell the time quite easily. The positioning of the date is perfect. That is exactly where the date should go. And the colour is powerful. It has energy. It's at the red end of the spectrum, which you don't see often. I can imagine myself looking at that and having a deadline and saying to myself, let's do this. Let's do this and knock it out of the park. I would get energy from a watch like that. I would feel amazing if I had a watch like that on, you know. As for the Explorer, that's a different vibe. I dare say a little bit more of a James Bond vibe, even though, yeah, I'm sure you've all seen the videos and all of that. Even though James Bond wore a Submariner, and I know that you've probably seen this. Computer, stop. But there's evidence to suggest that this was the original James Bond watch. People like the Urban Gentry guy and others have looked at the original text and the descriptions of the watch, and they think that this is the original James Bond watch, as was described in the books by, is it Ian Fleming? So these are my two Grail watches. I'm going to be wrapping up this stream before I go, but two things. I'm going to ask you what is the coolest of my Grail watches, because I'd like your opinion. So what is the coolest? So we're going to have Rolex Explorer 36 versus Omega Speedmaster 57. Let me know which is the coolest, because you just never know. I might buy one and your opinion could help me. And the other question I have, and I know I sound like a YouTuber looking for clicks here, but what would be your own Holy Grail watches? Let me know in the comments, because we do like watches around here, and I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. What would be your ultimate Holy Grail watch? Or you can have two of them if you want. And I can see that we have one vote coming in here for the Omega Speedmaster. I'm surprised. I'm very surprised at that. I thought I was the only person on earth who liked this. But here it is. And for me, that is just beautiful. Like I say, if I had that on, I think I would feel great, you know. Do you know, let's have a look here. Oh, here's one. Let's have a wee look. Oh, now that's excellent. Now, by the way, do you remember, I assume that you know who Gus Fring is, right? If you know who Gus Fring is, could you please type in Ahoy? That's very similar to Gus Fring's watch. I love that watch. I love this watch. That is a cracker. Holy shit, 26 quid. That is getting added to the cart. I don't know how to work wish lists, so I add them to the cart and come back weeks later, you know. I have to say, Simon, that is a okay, you've given us one duffer. I wasn't into the melted one, but you have certainly redeemed yourself. Look at it in this colour here. Wow. Do you know, the more I look at it, the more I'm really blown away by that. How are we in the black face? Wow, that is so good. I'm going to show you the Gus Fring watch before we go. Gus Fring is one of my favourite characters in all of fiction. Now, this looks like a great article, by the way. There it is. That's the Gus Fring watch. I can't remember the name of it, but it's kind of similar. I am loving that watch you've just picked, Simon. That is a belter. Look at the reviews. Absolutely beautiful watch. Loving it. Loving it. Have we got any others? Any others here? Any other nice watches that we should be paying attention to? I have to say again, I'm really grateful for that. I'm going to buy that thing, Simon. I've not seen that one yet, and I just love it. I love the numbers. There's something about it. It's just a beaut, an absolute beaut. Loving it. That's the best watch I've seen in a long time. So the more I look at it, the more I'm liking it. Really, really great. Alright. Yeah, I'll be joining you, dude. I'll be joining you. I'll be getting it. Well, folks, I think that's going to do us for this. You like German watches? That's pretty cool. Have you ever been to Germany? I went to Germany once, and I felt like a hobbit. Because everybody was so damn tall. I went into this bar in Hamburg, and I'm telling you, man, seemed to me like everybody was over 7 foot tall. It just felt that way. Anyway, yeah. There's a lot to admire about Germany these days, but better get there while you can, because as you know, we're all turning into a kind of one world place these days, right? Same old shopping centres and everything everywhere, you know. Your dad's side is from Hamburg. Well, there you go. I fancy that. Right, okay. Yeah, so I was in Hamburg. That's pretty cool. Hamburg is a hub of activity, you know. It's where the action is. There's a whole lot going on there. Whatever you're into, they've got it in Hamburg, I'll tell you that. which makes me sound as if I've had a far more interesting life than I actually have. Anyway, the results of the votes are in. I was asking what is the coolest, and the Speedmaster wins, which is a surprise. It's a surprise. I thought you would have said the Explorer. So here's the Explorer, one of my definite grail watches, and here is the Speedmaster. But I think the real star of the show is actually the one that Simon pulled out of the bag right at the end there. None of us saw it coming. And when somebody finds a watch that nobody has mentioned, that's completely off the radar, that is something worthy of respect. So that was an excellent call. Okay, well, I am going to leave this for now. That'll do us for today's live stream. I'm literally going to go and sell some stuff and things like that. So if anybody would like to buy a guitar or something, or whatever you're into, let me know. And that's about it. So thanks once again for being here. I think that I made good progress with this thing. If we just go back to this calendar here, we've now got it navigating through the different days, and in the next video I'm going to get it so that when you click a date it's going to disappear. Of course, I'm also going to have to make it so that when you do an offside click it closes the calendar as well, or it destroys it. So the way that we do that is, in fact, you know what, I'm going to do that right before I go, because I'm that kind of guy. So here's how you do that, folks. So imagine the situation, right? This will be the nearest thing to a tutorial. So we've got a calendar open. Now, it's fine to click around, but when we click off of the calendar, I'm clicking. Oh shit, what the hell's going on there? Might need to look into that. I realised what happened. I had a double calendar. That's what happened. Right, okay. So here's how you fix that. You go like this. We are going to say maybe around about here. Window, add event listener, click. That's going to take an event object like this, okay? So then what you do, and my patronising tutorial voice has arrived, is you say to yourself, right, what was the clicked element? So I'm going to say clicked element was event.target. And then you say to yourself, were we inside a thing that happens to be a date picker calendar? You can see that a date picker calendar's got this class of date picker calendar. So I'm going to say const date picker calendar is clicked element dot closest, and it's the closest element with a class of date picker calendar. Now, if no date picker calendar, that means that we must be outside of the date picker calendar. Therefore, we can close the date picker calendars. However, let's try something kind of cool. Let's say function destroy. Let's call it destroy elements. And we're going to add in class name. Apologies for my watch. Now, I'll add this into the date time object. That means that we avoid conflicting variable names and stuff like that. So this is going to be a function that takes in a class name. Now I'm going to say const target elements is document get elements by class name of this. Then I'm going to do a native improved loop like that. I'm doing this native loop because if you do a normal for the increments, then when you start deleting elements it gets all mixed up. So we are simply going to say remove. Now, do you see all of this shenanigans here? I only want that to work if we have pop-up calendars. So I'm going to just say const, let's see, date picker calendars is get elements by class name of that. Then I'm going to say if date picker calendars dot length is greater than 0. Ha ha ha. So I'm only going to subject myself to this bullshit if there's date picker calendars on the page. And if, now to be more accurate, we could call that something like containing date picker calendar. And if we have none of them, what we're going to do? That's right. We're going to call this little beauty here and we're going to pass in a class name of, now this is our class name here. And we're passing in a class name of date picker calendar. There it is there. And that's it. So if I've done this right, it means that if I click on a calendar, oh, alright, running into some challenges here. Let's change this to on mouse down. Is that the name of the thing? Oh, it's just mouse down. Okay. So, calendar pops up, calendar disappears, clicking, clicking, and now every time the calendar just disappears. That's it. That's how you do it. One last question. Is there a maximum so we're going to go back to 1970. Oh, check the dates. So we can go back minus approximately minus 290,000 years, about 250,000 BC or thereabouts, and we can go forward by 285,616 years or something like that. So that's nice to know. Alright, I think that's going to do us for now. Now closing date picker calendar when clicking elsewhere. Okay folks, so that is that. I'm gonna have to let me think here. I don't like this mouse down as I'm looking at it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm going to go back to a click because I don't know if iPads and all that can differentiate. So it looks a little bit like we've lost everything, right? But let's do... Let me think here. Yeah, I'm going to keep the click on. Now, let's say const containing date picker input is clicked element dot closest. So if we think about the element that we click on, that has got a class of date picker. So we can refine this by saying if we don't have that and we don't have this, then there you go, that's better. So no more mouse down garbage. Okay, now do you see that doubling up of calendars that's happening here? See how it's breaking? The way that we fix that is we do the following. We're going to go to build date picker calendar. See where it says destroy any existing pop-up calendars? There you go. So now as we click, and I'm going to click again, that's good. That's perfect. Excellent. Okay, so get commit m. Now closing calendars has been refined. I'll just do it like that. Alright, so once again, thank you very much for being here. I hope that you got something from this. Apologies for all of the waffle and the you know, whatever psychological trauma, but I hope you got something from this. And once again, I really appreciate the watch recommendations. We are big fans of watches. I think we've got one more recommendation just before we go. Yeah, there was a bug in the original because if you clicked on a date and tried to edit it in the input form, it wouldn't let you because there was an on-change event rewriting it. And I'm not sure if I would keep that or not. Maybe that's a good thing, but let's check the watch first. Let's deal with the important stuff here. Oh, now this looks familiar. So this is the original one. This is kind of interesting because are we saying that AliExpress has got outright copies, illegal replicas for sale? Is that what we're officially saying here? because that would be a stunning development. I'm looking at look at the name. Glashut. What we got here? Glashut. Glashut. They look the same to me. Funny thing is, the AliExpress one looks better, doesn't it? The AliExpress one's just better. It's got a better bezel. It's got nice wee golden sparkly bits. And this here is clear and flat, whereas with the deer one they've made it domed and it's distorting the numbers and stuff, and not in a pleasant way. Isn't that interesting? That is crazy, Simon. Mind blowing, isn't it? Mind blowing. Well, if we're talking about this, can I just show you one other that I saw that just blew my mind before we go? And I actually do think it's a nice looking watch. Have a look at this, and I know you've seen it, Simon, and anybody else. Do yourself a favour. Have a look at this one. It's the Grand Seiko. Now, I don't know about you folks, but I am loving the green. I think a black would have been awesome. I think the blue is a bit boring. But I'm loving the green one. And it's a Grand Seiko. Look at how nice the date is. It's so nicely framed. Now, to buy, do you have any idea how much these things are to buy? These cost about 2,000 or 3,000. There it's there. So here are the... Look at this, £5,000. I'm so dumb that when I looked at this, I thought maybe there was a cheaper branch or something. It's like, I mean, it's not as crazy as it sounds. You know, because if you think about guitars, you can easily pay $20,000 for the right Fender Stratocaster, but that same company will release a Squier Strat or even some other much cheaper Fender, and that's normal. The guitar world is like that. So I wasn't sure if they were legitimate frauds or not. Looks like they are. Yeah. So you've not seen the Grand Seiko, right? Okay, interesting. I think it looks really good, and you should watch videos about the Grand Seikos. They do run on quartz, but there's a lot going on there. I mean, the one I was looking at, it checks the ambient room temperature 500 times a day, and it adjusts the timing depending on the ambient room temperature. And it does a gazillion other things. These things are accurate to within a second per day. It's insane. And there seems to be a consensus that the Grand Seikos are the best built watches that you'll get. The only thing is, the only people who'll even know about this and appreciate this are guys who are into watches. So we've long given up on trying to pull with our watches, that's for sure. Here comes Joe. How you doing, my friend? He says if his startup gets funding, you'll buy one. I wonder what the startup is. Maybe we can talk about it sometime. I can't fund you, but I'll happily steal your idea. I don't know. You know something? I'm starting to think that the way this AI stuff is going, perhaps the future is collaborations. You know what I mean? I'd quite like to do that. You can get some amazing Seiko mechanical watches for $1,000. Yeah, interesting. It looks like Seiko has some good stuff. Although, I think Citizen is the true unsung hero. Everybody knows that the Miyota movements are better than the Ah, damn, man. Is it called an NS45? Here was me pretending I know what I'm talking about. I almost got away with it. Anyway, this is what I'm into. To me, all roads lead to Citizen. This watch has nothing to prove. This watch is for the person... Come on, focus, you miserable swine. Come on. Come on. I can't... Oh, there you go. This watch is for the person who is in a state of peace and harmony with where they are in life. That is the watch of somebody who gets stuff done. Somebody dependable. Somebody who's going places. That's the watch, folks. I'm loving it. Anyway, you have the spring drive as a cross between a mechanical and a quartz. Interesting. Well, listen, folks, I hope you have enjoyed Dave's Watch Club today. It's thank you very much, Joe. Yeah, we love watches. Like I say, I did a video where I reviewed some of my watches here, and nobody commented or anything, so I took it down and I lost subscribers. But we are most definitely lovers of nice watches on this channel here. Okay, folks, you have a... Can I get a clone of what? Hang on before we go. Get a clone of the Citizen one. The Citizen watch. You want a clone of this? You want a clone of this piece of shit? Dude, you don't need to get a clone of this. If that's what he was meaning. Surely not. Surely not. Anyway, these things are not that expensive. I mean, you can pick these up and has the second cut out. Don't know what you mean. No, we've got a second hand. Look, I'll show you it again. We have a second hand, folks. Here it is here. It's not an expensive watch at all. In fact, I'll show you where you can pick it up. But it's really, really good. There's a second hand. See, it's in red. It's in red. There you go. For anyone who's interested, you can actually buy these in Argos. I'll show you the exact page. Argos Citizen Field. They call it a field watch. There it is right there. This is my watch. So there you go. But check that. It's got 727 reviews. And look at the stars. Everybody's loving this watch. You can see that the original came with a green strap. I replaced that. I replaced it and got this silvery one, but with a black stripe. I like the black stripe. It symbolises the blackness in my heart. Anyway, that's the watch there. As you can see, it's not that expensive, you know. Well, folks, I hope you have had a good day, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. I'm going to hit the road just now. Thank you so much indeed for being here, and hopefully we'll do this again tomorrow. For anyone who's wondering, I do live stream just about every day. I was live streaming yesterday. It was Sunday. Hopefully I'll be live streaming tomorrow if I'm alive and everything as well. I live stream all the time. And if you become a channel member, ding, 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 then you can enjoy plenty more crazy conversations about watches, the lack of positive men's role models, and of course, a little bit of coding action as well. From time to time, I do these things publicly just because I feel like it. But for those of you who are members, I hope we can catch up tomorrow. For those who are not, $5 a month. Price of a... You can't even get a Big Mac for that these days. I hope you'll consider becoming a member, you know. You would certainly be helping the revolution. Alright, folks. Well, thank you very much to everyone. Thank you very much to Not Mark Knopfler, Joe Goosebase. What a name. Dafa, Dan Stuff, Stefan, they're all here and they're all in full formation. Thank you very much indeed, folks. Thank you very much indeed. I hope I never missed anybody. Pleasure and a privilege. Have a good day. Michael was here, made a great coding suggestion. Stefan had mentioned. Okay, so have a great day, folks.